Should you use flash in street photography? That was a question that was posed by Vivian Martin in a recent Facebook group post where he said, I typically do not use flash when doing street photography, but today I put myself outside my comfort zone and flashed people as I did street photography. From there, he went on to describe his camera setup, and then he posed the question to the group saying, for those who have used flash with their street photography, what has your experience been, or do you prefer not to use flash at all? So before we get into the topic, I'd first like to thank Vivian Martin for sharing his photographs with us and allowing me to do this video. You can check him out on Instagram at VME3 Photography. So what are your thoughts on using flash in your street photography? For the group, there was an array of different responses, anywhere from, yeah, that's great, people will not even notice, go ahead and do it, to that is completely disrespectful, I would never ever do that, it's just terrible. So what do you think? Should we use flash or not? As we discuss this, I'm going to go ahead and start showing you some of the photographs that Vivian Martin took that day that he shared with me for this video. So flash, yay or nay? Well, for me, I personally do not use flash in my street photography. But if you are to use flash, I would say it really depends on the subject matter. What are you photographing with the flash? Are you getting really close to somebody's face and suddenly flashing them to take a photograph? Or are you focusing on other details on the street that really doesn't invade anybody's personal space? So I would say that should I use flash is not the best question to be asking, but rather, can I do so without being disruptive or invasive? There's a very well-known photographer that's known for using flash, and if you see any of the videos that are out there of him doing flash photography on the streets, it really doesn't paint the prettiest picture, right? He comes across as very aggressive, very disrespectful, and almost like a bully. Some would argue that he gets results, but at what cost? I think that when we're on the streets, we need to show people the utmost respect and appreciation. And if we can use flash and still do that, I think it's alright to use flash. Now, with all that being said, I do have my own experience with flash photography, so I was also worked up. This is quite a few years ago now, but I was also looking around and learning a lot about street photography, and I heard, yeah, go ahead, try using a flash, look at these results, and I was caught up in it, and so I also went out and bought myself an off-camera flash, and basically I went out into Seoul and I took a few photographs, flashed a couple people, but I was keeping my distance actually. At first it takes quite a bit of courage to try that type of photography. I took a few photographs, and then I remember this one photograph. What happened was I went up, there was a couple, they were walking towards me, it was night, they were walking towards me, holding hands maybe, and I was still at a distance, maybe a few meters, 3 or 4 meters, and I pulled out the flash and I took the photograph, and suddenly the woman started swearing and yelling, and then he turned, looked at me, and pretty much I hurried off as fast as I can to avoid any kind of confrontation. And yeah, that was basically the last time that I used a flash in my street photography. Now, this is a topic that actually comes up every once in a while among photographers, especially newer photographers. And over the last few years, I've had many opportunities kind of just revisit and think more deeply about whether I should use flash or not. Again, for me, I've chosen for the most part not to use flash. That's a personal decision, but I've come to the conclusion that if I use flash in my photography, I want to do so in a way that's most respectful and that gives people dignity, right? So if you can do that and use the flash, I would say go for it, but just be careful not to cross the line with it. So uncharacteristically, I've shown you quite a few photographs here from Vivian Martin and his flash photography, and I haven't really commented much on the actual photographs, and that's because I was focused on answering that question for you about using flash or not. But I really enjoyed the photographs from Vivian Martin. I think some of them are really, really nice. Vivian mentioned that he was only into photography for about a year at this point, and still you can see that he's doing terrific work. He did mention that he's using all manual settings, and so some of the photographs are a little bit blurry here and there, where he missed the focus point or whatnot, but still all manual with a flash. He's got his nerves racing basically as he's trying this new form of photography with flash. So definitely I would think out of these photographs, he has a couple that are really, really nice, and definitely he's off to an awesome start with his photography. You can check out more of his work on Instagram. It's VME3 photography, and I'm going to also put the link down below so that you can go check out more of his work. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.